how to use ETH and SOL to airdrop farm and earn additional money and yield. GM, welcome to Web3 Academy, your one trusted source to capitalize on the next big phase of the internet. We're here to make sense of an on-chain world in constant transformation, and I'm Kyle Reedhead, your host for today's episode. We are talking about how to put your ETH and your SOL to work to earn new airdrops and to earn additional yield. We're going to break down exactly what to do with ETH, what protocols to put it in to airdrop farm upcoming ones, as well as we're going to do the same thing for SOL. We're also going to touch a little bit on staking, restaking, as well as how to mitigate risk when you are airdrop farming across any ecosystem, okay? Mitigate risk with your wallets, mitigate risk with your collateral that you're putting up. There's a lot to think about here. I know a lot of you in the Web3 Academy community are just beginning to airdrop farm for the first time, and I want to make sure you're doing it properly and making sure you're not going to lose any of your assets. One of the reasons why ETH and SOL are such important assets, an asset that we have said should be a part of your portfolio, is because you can actually put ETH and SOL to work. So one, ETH and SOL both have the ability to stake and earn risk-free, and I say that in quotations. It's not actually risk-free, but in a context it is. A risk-free yield, meaning you can just stake it and you'll earn a certain percent APY per year. Also, ETH and SOL are the best assets used for collateral in other DeFi protocols, staking protocols within their own ecosystems. The reason for that is ETH is the most permissionless and trustless and the least riskiest asset in the Ethereum ecosystem. That's because it has no smart contract risk. And same with Solana in the SOL ecosystem. And so holding these assets, they have a ton of demand for these sort of properties, but then also you can use them to make additional money on top of that. And so that's what we're going to cover completely in this video today. So let's start with Solana, then we'll go into Ethereum, and I'll make sure to dive into all the intricacies throughout. So I'm going to share screen and we'll dive further into it. Now, before I do, I just have a quick question. I want to understand the audience a little bit further. Whether you're listening on YouTube or you're listening on Spotify or wherever, please answer the question for me in the comments below or in the poll. Are you airdrop farming other ecosystems, whether that's Ethereum, Solana, could be Objective, could be Cosmos? Are you airdrop farming currently? And if you are, especially if you're watching YouTube right now, please let me know in the comments exactly what chains you're airdrop farming on and what protocols you are playing around with and hoping to get a token from. Just want to get an idea of where you guys are at so I can continue to make more content that is more specific to you. I'm sharing screen here. For those that are listening on the podcast, don't worry. I'll make sure to explain things as thoroughly as possible for you. So this will all make sense to you. Don't worry. But I am going to actually share screen of the protocols themselves and show exactly what this looks like and how to do it. So if you're having any struggles, I'd recommend watching on YouTube or watching on Spotify as well. Before I get into it, just a quick shout out. We have 2 newsletters in the Web3 Academy newsletter about airdrop farming with lots of details. One is on Solana and all the upcoming airdrops for Solana. So make sure to check that one out. The link is in the show notes below. And then we just released another one on Injective, another L1 chain that has a ton of opportunities for airdrop farming. And so we have a guide for both Solana and Injective, and the link to those are in the show notes below. Check those out. And then one last piece of tidbit before we get into it. All of the protocols that I'm going to talk about here throughout Solana and Ethereum, the links to those are also in the show notes. The reason why I recommend you click on those links is there's a lot of fake links out there. If you go to people's Twitters, it could be hacked. A lot of people are commenting the fake links so that when you connect your wallet, they're just going to drain your wallet. So make sure you're getting the right links. I've got all of them in the show notes below. Some of them are also referrals for me, so it just helps me earn a little bit more points. So appreciate that. But more, I'm doing it because I want to make sure you do not get rugged. All right, let's dive into it. So the first thing is we'll start with Solana. So how can you put your SOL to work to earn additional airdrops and to earn additional yield? If you currently hold SOL, it is in your best interest to instead convert that into something like Jito SOL. So Jito SOL is the Lido of Solana, basically, right? Lido or Rocket Pool of Solana. So the ST-ETH or the R-ETH of Solana. This is Jito SOL. And basically what this is you're giving your SOL to putting in a smart contract and letting other validators use that SOL for you. They're going to run a validator and they're going to give you the rewards back. As you can see up on the screen here, you can currently earn 7.09% on your SOL. If you are not currently staking your SOL, you are crazy. It is one of the greatest opportunities. I mean, you have an asset that's gone up almost 1,000% this year, and you can earn 7% yield on it. It's pretty crazy. It's not completely risk-free, but pretty much risk-free. And I think it's just an incredible opportunity. So start there. Definitely you want to be holding SOL, you want to be holding Jito SOL. Now, to get your Jito SOL, I recommend you use Jupiter. The reason why is Jupiter has just launched their first round of their airdrop. And so that was a snapshot from like back in November and beyond. So if you weren't using Jupiter before that, you're not going to get in the first round, which will come out here in January. But they have, I believe, 5 total rounds of an airdrop. So if you continue to use Jupiter now, you will be farming that airdrop. So that's a no-brainer. Every swap you make in Solana, make sure you do it on Jupiter because you'll be able to farm this airdrop. So just go to Jupiter, as you can see up on the screen, connect your wallet, and you can simply just swap your SOL for Jito SOL. Looks, feels the same as Uniswap. There's not much more I need to teach there. But you can also do limit orders. You can dollar cost average. You can do a bunch of things here with Jupiter. It's pretty cool. You can also bridge. So if you have assets elsewhere, you can bridge them onto Solana. That's the starting point. What you want to do is get your assets into Jito SOL so that we can start to use those in other protocols. Now, one thing I would say is don't put 100% of your SOL into this. You can put 100% into Jito SOL. That's fine. But don't put 100% into farming these airdrops. And the reason is you might get liquidated. You never know. These are newer protocols, so you don't know if they're going to potentially rug or have a smart contract bug or get hacked. There is some risk here. And so I want you to understand that. So the bulk of your SOL or Jito SOL should be stored in a hardware wallet. Maybe 20%, 10%, I don't know, depends on your risk appetite and how much assets you have, can go into farming these airdrops. The first one I want to talk about is MarginFi, and I recommend that you put a large sum of your airdrop farmable SOL, the amount that you're actually going to use, into this one to start. The reason I say this one is probably the farthest along, likely the soonest to drop an airdrop. So I think you want to start collecting these points right away. It's pretty straightforward on what you want to do here. Basically, you're going to add supply. So you're going to supply your Jito SOL, and in return, you're going to receive a little bit of an APY. Now, it's not much because there's not much risk here, but you can put your Jito SOL, you'll get 0.14%. It's irrelevant. Normally, I would say don't even worry about doing that. But again, 0.14% on your Jito SOL, which is already earning you 7% on your SOL, plus you're going to get an airdrop from this. So you want to supply your Jito SOL in here. Again, put as much as you need. If you have other assets, you can do that too, but I recommend keeping this very simple. So start with just your Jito SOL, supply that. Then what you're going to be able to do is move over. So you're on lend right now. If you can see on my screen, that's supplying or lending. So you're allowing someone else to take that and do whatever they want with it. But then you can go and borrow yourself. Now, those who lend get 1 point for every dollar that you lend. Okay. But if you borrow, you get 4 points for every dollar that you borrow. And so obviously, if you need more points, borrowing is better. Now, it's a little bit more riskier, so be careful. But I'm going to show you how you can do it where there's not really a ton of risk. Once you've lent, that gives you the ability to now borrow because you've put up some collateral, okay? It'll show you how much. So this is pretty straightforward, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to click borrow, and then you're going to find a token that is similar to Jito SOL. And what I mean is MSOL, BSOL, these are all, or SOL itself if you want, these are all derivatives of Solana, meaning they all go up and down together. There is no big difference in prices. If you were to borrow in something like Bonk, or in USDT, or in wrapped Bitcoin, or JTO, these will fluctuate from the Solana price, right? And the problem here is that if one of those goes up and the other one stays the same or goes down, you might get liquidated. So there's a lot more risk in doing this. So I highly recommend, if you're putting Jito SOL as what you're lending, then you borrow something that also follows the price of Solana, because then you basically can't get liquidated because it all goes up and down together. So if your Jito SOL goes up, but you're borrowing, let's say MSOL, right? This is just another liquid staking derivative of Solana. Well, as long as they go up and down together, then the amount you're borrowing versus the amount, like the ratio of the amount you borrow versus lend, it never really changes. And so you're not really at risk of getting liquidated, okay? So there is a fee to borrow something like MSOL, and it's 2%. So you are paying 2%. APY, it's per year. It's not that big of a deal. You're going to earn more than that in your airdrop that you get. So don't worry about the fee. It's a short-term thing. Otherwise, okay, maybe you wouldn't do this, but to lower your risk while you airdrop farm, that's what I recommend you doing. So you're lending Jito SOL, you're borrowing MSOL. You could also borrow LST. It's also another derivative. Those are the two that I would recommend. Stick with those, okay? That's basically all you need to do with MarginFi. one more point. If you then, once you've done this, if you go to your points, it'll show you how much points you've made versus lending versus borrowing from referrals. You can actually copy your referral link and send that out to friends, to others, and you can earn additional rewards for those that click on your link and then do it. So again, obviously the link is in the show notes below to find MarginFi. I've used my referral link, so it helps me, but more, it makes sure you get to the right link. So now what you have is you've lent out your ETH SOL, you've borrowed MSOL or LST, and that's now sitting in your wallet. What you want to do now is you can go and lend those out and airdrop farm additional points from other protocols with the same assets, okay? So now that you have MSOL in your wallet, go to Camino Finance, okay? That's app.camino.finance. Link is in the show notes. Connect your wallet. And what you can do is same thing. You're going to go to borrow and lend, and you're just going to lend. Right now, I wouldn't worry about borrowing. We don't want to get too far into this loop. You could lend your MSOL or your LST in here, same way you just did it, right? So just go down, find the one that you want to do. Here's ETH SOL, here's MSOL. You already have that. Just click supply. You're in 0.12%. Again, small, nothing big, but you're earning that and you're farming the airdrop once again. We don't know how the point system works yet for Camino. As you can see from the top here, it says points. We have some points are coming soon. So we don't know what the structure is. So this is why I'm not putting too much in here yet. I will probably move some of my MarginFi over to this once I learn more about how they're going to do this. But for now, I'm just supplying. There's very little risk if you just supply. You could go and then borrow, let's say, ETH SOL from that if you want to. You probably get more points. You could then go take that, put it somewhere else. Again, if you're going to do this, looping is what you would call this. Make sure you stay in only SOL derivative assets, okay? You can keep going back and forth. So take some of your MSOL, your LST, put it into there in Camino Finance, leave it. Then the last one I would say you can do on Solana is you can go to Meteora, okay? This is another one where they have said publicly that they are going to do an airdrop and they're going to have some sort of point system, but they haven't launched it yet. So again, if you have MSOL left over or LST, you can come in here and you can simply click on it and you can deposit some of your MSOL. And again, you will be supplying MSOL. And that's all you need to do there. Now, one thing I just want to say is there are a bunch of other options you can do in these protocols. If you look on Camino, you can provide liquidity. You can go long and short. On Meteora, you can have pools. You can do a bunch of different things. The problem with these is there's just a lot more risk when you start to add pools. So this is like putting SOL plus, I don't know, whatever this token is, used card. You can earn a ridiculous amount of yield. I would not recommend doing this. Yes, you can earn a lot of yield, but likely you're going to have a lot of impermanent loss and a lot of issues here. There's just a big chance that you get liquidated or end up losing money. So for most people, I would recommend you don't do this. Leave this for the professionals. All you got to worry about is just lending, borrowing, but mainly lending unless you get some more points. Okay, so stick to that, the vaults and Meteora, and lending over on Camino. And that's it. If you do that, you're now eligible to get an airdrop from Jupiter. You're eligible to get an airdrop from MarginFi, from Camino Finance, and from Meteora, okay? Now, if you want to do more because you have extra SOL, then head to our newsletter. Again, it's in the link below, and there's a bunch of other protocols that you can go and do. These are just super, super easy. Takes you 20 minutes to do this, not even, and you get 4 airdrops. Now, the Jupiter or the ETH SOL airdrop that came last month was 10K. These aren't going to be that big, so I wouldn't expect that, but you still will do well. Hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars on each of these. Again, obviously depends on how many points you're getting, so how much you're actually putting in. As for how much, I get this question a lot. We have no idea. Basically, what's going to happen is there's points, there's a ranking system, and they'll kind of give you based off of, how many you get versus the entire leaderboard. But again, we don't really know how that's going to play out. But I would put hundreds. If you can get thousands of dollars, I would do that. But hundreds of dollars will do. 1 SOL might not be enough, but somewhere around, the hundreds of dollars should work here. And then you can put that across each of these protocols. So that's pretty straightforward, low risk way of managing this. Again, I would recommend only a certain percentage of your SOL portfolio. And even if you can, get it in a different wallet. So keep your stack of SOL that you're holding long-term that's in ETH SOL and put it in a hardware wallet. Open a different wallet, a phantom wallet, and use it for these, okay? Don't mix them up, because if you happen to click on a wrong link or do something wrong, the last thing you want is all of your SOL to get drained. It's okay to risk 10, 20%. That's not the worst case scenario. And so make sure you segment them into different wallets. Now we're going to move on to Ethereum. So how can you use your ETH to airdrop farm and earn additional yield? Well, there's a few different ways that you can do this, and I'm going to cover that right now in this episode. So the starting point is if you hold ETH, at this point, you want to be holding a staked derivative of ETH, okay? An LSD or LST, whatever you want to call it. Meaning you want to hold STETH or you want to hold RETH, okay? These are staked versions of ETH. And basically all it is again, same as Solana, you're staking your ETH, you're giving your ETH to a validator in a smart contract, and they're going to use that ETH to run a validator, and they're going to give the rewards back to you. On Ethereum, you can earn about 4% in staked ETH derivatives, somewhere around there. It's 3.8, 3.9, depends on how many people are staking. Is lower than Solana, but that's because Solana has a lot more inflation, but it's much less risky. And then not to mention Ethereum is deflationary. It's not actually inflating at all when you take into account the burn. So you want to start by putting all of your ETH, I would recommend, or most of your ETH into these LSTs. If you want to stop there, that's fine. At least you're earning your 4-ish%. But if you now want to then use that to farm additional airdrops, here's some easy things that you can do right away. And again, this will not take you long. The first one I would start with is Manta. Now, understand that Manta Network is a layer 2 that has native yield. So when you bridge your ETH to Manta into this layer 2, it converts your ETH into something called Stone. And what that does is it gives you yield. So you'll get your 4% right off the bat. That's all you have to do. All you got to do is bridge your ETH and it does it all for you. Now, 2 things to note about Manta. One, it's a newer L2, so just be aware, but it does have a good backing, a big team. So we hope that the risk is low. Now, the other thing that you want to understand is the deadline to actually bridge ETH over is January 16th. So I'm recording this on the 9th. You'll probably see this on the 10th, unless you've seen it days later. You want to get your ETH on by the 16th. I'm not sure if the snapshot's done and it's over by the 16th or just you can't bridge anymore by then. I'm not sure. So maybe look on Twitter, see what you can find. But if you're watching this on the 10th, do this now, right away. And I think you probably need about 0.25 ETH to really make this worth it. I don't know that for sure. It could be less, but that's what I would recommend, okay? The last thing you need to know is you will need a code to get on this. My codes are all used up, but I'm going to put in my Discord as soon as I'm done this, see if I can get a bunch of invite codes for you. So again, just look in the links and I'll hopefully have some invite codes for you. If not, just go to the Manta Twitter and they should have some codes in there. There's usually people commenting that have codes that you can use. Shouldn't be too tough to find. You can also go in the Discord. You'll find some if you can't. There's a bit of a cost here to bridge from Ethereum over to Manta. If you are worried about costs, then do this at nighttime. So at nighttime, like Eastern Standard nighttime, because the costs on Ethereum go down much, much lower. You're probably going to pay $20 if you do this. And it could be more, it could be less, just depending on how busy the chain is. And that all you have to do is just bridge over and then you're good to go. That'll allow you to farm the Manta Network plus earn 4% APY. The next thing you do if you want to get a little bit more, a boost on your points on Manta, is you can go to Layerbank, so manta.layerbank.finance. And what you can do is you can take your Stone and you can lend that out as well. And when you do that, so if you can find it on here, just go to Bank on the top, scroll down, you're going to go to Stone, and you can just go to Supply. And supply however much you want. I'm not doing that right now, but you can. You can loop it if you want. You'll earn a bit more APY, a little bit more, but there's a little bit more risk there. So I wouldn't recommend that. And then you're basically just clicking supply. And that's all you got to do. You'll earn a little bit more of an airdrop. There's a bit of a boost on the points that you'll get. Now, one of the fun things about Manta is as soon as you put your ETH over, you'll notice you start to get these boxes. And this is like a thing that's happening all the time. You can see a countdown here on the screen. These box pieces will eventually get you boxes, which then you can claim them. When you open them, you'll get a bunch of NFTs. I have a collection here. If you collect all of them, you can combine them to get the big rare one, or sometimes you might claim the rare one itself. And I think the more rare ones you have, the more airdrop you're going to get. You can also buy these on different marketplaces, which they have in the links here. So they're kind of gamifying it, which is kind of cool. They're making some fun there. But again, if you have not done this, you want to do it ASAP, or otherwise you're going to miss out on that one. That's the Manta Network. Again, you're using L2. You can then, one thing just to keep in mind is when you use your MetaMask to do this, you will need to add the Manta Network to your MetaMask. So just like you have probably Optimism Network on it, and you might have Arbitrum, etc., you'll need to add Manta Network, and that's where you'll see your assets once you bridge it. Once you sign up, it'll walk you through how to do that, though I can't show you because I've already signed up, but it's pretty straightforward. So again, if you have any issues, you can come in our Discord and we'll help you out, or probably better just go to Mantas. They'll definitely help you out. Okay. The next thing we want to do is talk about restaking. So this idea of restaking, I've talked about a bunch in the podcast. I'll give you a quick summary here. Basically, that is taking your staked ETH, so those liquid staking tokens, whether that's STETH, RETH, et cetera, that I've already talked about, and restaking those through what's called Eigenlayer. And what this does is it's taking the validators of Ethereum, which is what you're giving your ETH to, and it's exporting the security that they provide to other protocols. So whether that's other layer 2s, whether that is something like Cosmos that needs better security, they can then tap into Ethereum security and the ETH assets through the validators. And you can do that through restaking. So it's a really new concept. I think it's going to be something really, really big. The good news is you can farm the airdrop of Eigenlayer, which is the company that is really spearheading this restaking. I think it's going to be one of the biggest airdrops ever on Ethereum and probably in existence of any ecosystem. It's just a really big deal. And so I really recommend you take advantage of this. Now, Eigenlayer is currently paused for uploading or depositing any assets in, but there is a workaround, a way that you can still do it. I'm going to show you that in just a second, but I'll also cover how you can do it once they reopen. They're still very new. They're not even launched mainnet yet, and so that's why they're still paused. And they allowed, I think, about 500 million. Now they're up to 1 billion assets worth, and they'll probably open it up again in the coming, I don't know, weeks to months. Let's see. They're just trying to do it in a stepwise process for now. Anyway, the first way and the easiest and also the cheapest way to airdrop farm the Eigenlayer airdrop, as well as this protocol here called EtherFi, is through using EtherFi. So app.ether.fi. Go to the show notes. I have a link in there. I also have a referral, which I recommend you use. And so basically all you're doing, this is very, very simple. You just need to have ETH in your wallet on Ethereum mainnet. You're just going to connect your wallet as normal, okay? And you're going to see a UX that looks pretty much just like Uniswap, right? And all you're going to do is swap some of your ETH, okay, into EETH. So EETH you can think of like an LST, a liquid staking derivative or a liquid staking token, except this is a restaking token, okay? So I know this is a little bit crazy, but this is as simple as all you got to do is simply swap your ETH into this, and all of a sudden you are now farming the EtherFi airdrop as well as the Eigenlayer airdrop, and you're earning not just your 4%, but the restaking APY as well. Now, we don't know what that is yet, but that will come to us as soon as they launch and go mainnet. So if you go to your portfolio here, you can see this. So right now we're earning 3.37%. So the APY is a little bit lower at the moment, and it changes every day. And you can see that there's a TBD on the restaked amounts because we don't know until it goes live. And then you have your points that you're earning on EtherFi and your points that you're earning on Eigenlayer. So you're now earning on both, which is super cool. Also, if you've done certain things in the community, then you can mint these NFTs here and you can get additional points. So look through and see what they are. This one, you just need to verify your email and consent to being sent emails, and you'll get, I think it's like 5,000 points. So might as well go do that. If you've done some other things in the community, you can claim some more as well. So again, might as well do that. Now you can take this a step further, I believe, and wrap your ETH, and you can supply that or put it into pools on Curve and Balancer, etc. I'm not doing this, but you can to get additional rewards. Again, I don't really care to get all this additional stuff, but you can get a boost of 2x, as you can see, by using any of these. You get additional EtherFi and rewards if you do this. So might be an option for you. One thing to note, don't put all of your ETH in this. I know it's great to get free money and to get these airdrops, but they can be risky, okay? You do not want to put all. You want to put 10, maybe 20% of your ETH into these protocols. And even that, let's say you're doing 20%, take 5%, put it into Manta, 5%, put it into EtherFi, and split those up. These are new protocols, both Eigenlayer and EtherFi and Manta, and there is potential for smart contract risks. There's potential for, I don't know, the founders to rug. I don't think these ones will. That's why I'm sharing them with you. But you just never know what will happen. And they also might get hacked. So again, 10, 20%, and put them in a different wallet than your cold wallet. So you should have a wallet of ETH or staked ETH chilling in a ledger or whatever. Leave that. Put this in a different wallet, whether it's another ledger or a different MetaMask, whatever. Separate those wallets though. And this will really make sure that you don't lose all of your ETH. This is great. You can earn some extra APY, you can earn some extra tokens and some good money, but don't mix them together, okay? It's the biggest mistake I see people doing all the time. Okay, what else can we do? There's more you can do with Eigenlayer. And again, I believe this is going to be one of the biggest airdrops, so I think you want to pay attention to this and do whatever you can to get access to this. So let me just show you EigenLayer first. So as I said, if you look at the top here, liquid restaking deposits in EigenLayer are currently paused. So you actually can't do this unless you native restake, which is you got to run your own validator. And that's a lot more technical. I'm not going to get into that. At some point, this will increase and you will be able to put it more into this. And so what you can do is if you hold any of these liquid staking tokens, which is Stakewise, Swell, Origin, Lido, Rocket Pool, etc., you'll be able to go put those into EigenLayer and immediately you'll start earning points, as you can see here. Okay, so this is very straightforward. Once you have these, you just come into EigenLayer. The link is in the show notes and you can deposit them. You can't do that right now though. One thing you can do in the meantime, if you'd like, Swell, which is another liquid staking token, similar to that of like Lido and Rocket Pool, but they don't have a token yet. And so what I would say is while you're waiting, you can go and swap your ETH into what's called SWEETH or SWETH, and you will start farming the Swell airdrop. Now, once EigenLayer opens, you take that SWEETH, you come in here, Swell staked Ether, click on it, and simply deposit, put the amount, and you can deposit, okay? Now, on the Swell side of things, there's a very minimal fee. It's just like a swap like you would do in Uniswap, so it doesn't cost you a lot to do that. When you go and you deposit it into EigenLayer, there is an additional fee that might be a little bit higher than what a swap would be because you're interacting with a smart contract. Just be aware of that. There will also be a fee to then withdraw it out. So again, be aware of that as well. There are some associated fees with these, but again, likely you're going to get a pretty good airdrop here as well. So just something to keep in mind. So again, with Ethereum, you can put it on Manta, you can use EtherFi, you can use Swell, and whenever it opens, you'll be able to go and put those on EigenLayer as well. And then for now, since you can't do that, just use EtherFi because that auto does it for you. And so that still is enabled and you can still get your EigenLayer points from there. That's a wrap for how to put your Ethereum to work, as well as how to put your Solana to work. Guys, this stuff is not that difficult. Once you've done it once or twice, like I understand it's a bit confusing in the beginning, especially when you get into borrowing and all that, but really it's not that difficult once you've done it once or twice. And so I recommend you do this, play around with it, don't use a ton, but there's going to be so many of these opportunities throughout this year. This was just Ethereum and just a few protocols. There's going to be so many more probably across the layer 2 ecosystem. And as EigenLayer gets bigger, there's probably going to be even more opportunities there. Solana, still plenty of more to come, I'm sure of it. As I said, we have an injective guide below, which you can do a bunch there. There's Cosmos, there's so many, and these are going to continue to gain traction. There's going to be so many more throughout this year. So don't sit on these. These are easy wins. Jito Sol, when I earned 10K, I put, I think it was like 2 or 3 Jito or Sol into Jito Sol for like a week, and I got 10K, right? It was just, I happened to do it. Instead of procrastinating, I did it right away, right? And because it wasn't so difficult to do, it's just a quick swap and boom, I was able to farm that. And so you're going to learn so much about DeFi here. You're going to learn so much about these protocols, and you're going to probably make a lot of money while you do it. So if you're already holding ETH, you're already holding SOL, which I know many of you are, you might as well put it to work and earn hundreds, thousands of dollars while you're at it. Why not? Plus you earn some additional APY. My last note here, or cautionary note, is don't get too pumped up about the APY. Earning 4, 5, 6, 7% is great if it's risk-free, which Jito Sol, you know, some of these liquid staking tokens, those are essentially risk-free, meaning there's not much of a chance that you're going to lose that unless the whole ecosystem collapses, which then you're going to lose those tokens anyway. So there's no additional risk in staking. But when you start to lend and borrow and you try to really farm these things and you try to get this 300, APY or whatever, you start mismatching tokens, that's where you get wrecked. You get liquidated, you get a bunch of fees, and things can really, really go wrong. So just keep it super simple, and you're going to alleviate most of the risk associated with playing around with these new protocols, okay? I can't stress that enough. And I know people want more, but don't worry about the yield. Even like what I showed in MarginFi here, I'm actually paying 2% on some of my assets just to get this airdrop, because I don't want to do something that's super risky. I could use Bonk or whatever, and I would pay a lot less to borrow, but I don't want to, because I just don't want to risk that. I don't want to get liquidated. So again, keep it simple and you should be good to go. Okay, friends, one last thing is if you're listening to this and you have other ideas, other things that you're doing to airdrop farm, not only answer that question that I said and put those notes in the comments, join our Discord, jump in there. There's a bunch of us talking about how we can do this and what other opportunities are out there. So please join our Discord and shoot the shit in there. If you have questions, if you have other ideas, please share. We're all trying to learn here and be early, and that it pays to be early. Lastly, please subscribe, like, follow, all the things, depending on where you're listening. Help this channel grow and become much, much, much bigger. We need you to do that. As long as you appreciate our content, then I would appreciate you liking and sharing our content and subscribing to it so that we can grow. Thanks, friends. I really appreciate you, and good luck out there. These airdrops are coming soon, probably Q1. So do not wait on this. Make this happen ASAP. Be a doer. Take care, friends. Thank you for listening to Web3 Academy, your one trusted source to capitalize on the next big phase of the internet. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and subscribe or follow so that you don't miss the next one. While you're at it, there's a link in the description for our free newsletter where we provide timely and relevant Web3 insights so you can confidently build and invest in Web3. Make sure to subscribe today. One final note. This podcast is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto and Web3 are risky, and you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and see you in the next one.